Call to order this city council meeting for Thursday, September 28, 2023. Everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Kevin Kadada.
Here.
Tim Rude.
Here.
Cindy Fuhr.
Here.
And Scott Palava is absent.
Okay, tonight's agenda has been updated to go through 10E. Is there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda?
Nope. All of the agenda items proposed for addition to the agenda, the staff reports are on the table to review, but they're pretty straightforward agenda items.
And will we approve the agenda with the added items?
Motion by Councilman Kadada.
Second.
Second by Councilperson Fuhr. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of minutes. Consider approval of the minutes from the September 11th, 2023 special meeting and the September 18th, 2023 regular meeting. Any additions, deletions, or corrections to the minutes?
I move we approve the minutes as presented.
Motion by Councilperson Fuhr.
Second.
Second by Councilman Kadada. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. There are no public hearings. On to presentation of citizens' petitions and comments. Comments limited to 2 minutes. Okay, 3 items on the consent agenda tonight: the monthly bills, the treasurer's report, and the board and commission minutes. Would anybody like any of those items pulled for discussion?
Will we approve the consent agenda?
Motion by Councilman Kadada.
Second.
Second by Councilperson Fuhr. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. There is no old business. On to new business. Consider approval of Resolution 2023-31, a resolution accepting the donation by Dennis and Brenda Hergenroder. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. Dennis and Brenda Hergenroder have made a donation of $200 with the intent to be used for the fire department. As with all donations, the city has to accept them via resolution to be compliant with state statute 465.04. The intent of acknowledging them via resolution is that, so one, the donation is acknowledged, but then two, everyone is on, the city accepts it and everyone's on the same page for what the intent of it is, or if there was any other future requirements that the city would have to comply with. Not the case in this situation, but kind of a reason why we've got to accept the donations via statute. The fiscal impact, it will increase funding to the fire department. Alternatives would be to not approve the proposed resolution and accept the donation. And then included with the staff report is the proposed resolution and a copy of state statute 465.04.
Make a motion to accept the donation?
Second.
Motion by Councilman Kadada, second by Councilperson Fuhr. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So we'll have to give Dennis and Brenda a shout out next time we see them.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you for the donation. Consider approval of Resolution 2023-32, a resolution approving a State of Minnesota voting operations, technology, and election resources county/municipality agreement. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. Rice County applied for grant funding through the state of Minnesota to help offset the cost of election administration, purchasing equipment, things like that. I believe that the amount that they were awarded was just under $14,000, and based off of the formula that they used, Lonsdale's share of that is $244.31. The funds, as I said earlier, can be used for equipment, hardware, software, regular security, cybersecurity, accessibility improvements to polling places, printing, publication, postage, and programming. Rice County is requesting that they be able to keep the funding since they pay for 100% of the cost of purchasing new equipment. That would consist of the poll pads, the DS200, the ballot tabulator, the Omni ballot for assisted election assistance. They have made the same request in the past, and we have approved, when they've received grant funding, for them to keep the money. The fiscal impact to the city would not be receiving the 244 from the state's voter program funding. Alternatives would be to not approve the proposed resolution and accept the 244 ourselves. And then included with the staff report is the proposed resolution, the voter account agreement, and then the email that was sent from Rice County requesting our assistance on this. So, unless there's any questions, staff would recommend approval of Resolution 2023-32.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Kadada,
Second.
second by Councilperson Fear. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approval to make a conditional job offer to Molly Clark as part-time liquor store clerk at grade 1, step 1, $16.06 an hour. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. With the recent resignation of Piper Nelson and Eric Williams, staff was authorized to advertise the open position. Was advertised since the beginning of September. During that time frame, we did receive 2 applications, with Clark being one of them. She worked for the city as a liquor store clerk between August of 18 and October of 22. She was a good worker, committed, knowledgeable, and got along well with staff and our customers. We did meet with her briefly earlier this week, just to have a quick sit down and see what's changed, if she's committed to the position. And we went over that. She said she's committed, and things have changed, so she's ready to get back to working at Lonsdale Liquor. I think it'd be a good addition. There'll be minimal training, and she should be able to jump right in and help alleviate some of the pick up some of the shifts that other full-time and part-time employees have picked up. The fiscal impact will be the cost of the wages and benefits. This position was included in the 23 and upcoming 24 budget. Alternatives would be to not make the conditional job offer as recommended and continue to advertise the position. And then included with the staff report are Ms. Clark's application, is her application.
I actually remember her from the last time she interviewed, and she was a very good worker.
Will we need to look at a second person since we had 2 resign, or is everyone just picking up the additional hours?
Right, for right now, staff's recommending 1. Ms. Nelson, she hasn't worked here for over a year, and we were able to assume her hours with other staff.
Okay.
One of the shifts that is proposed to be filled by Clark will be one of those Saturday shifts that Piper was working.
Okay.
So, but otherwise, staff has assumed the other vacant or open shifts, and everything seems to be working out well, so.
All right, good. I move we make a conditional job offer to Molly Clark.
Motion by Councilperson Fear,
Second.
second by Councilman Kadada. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approval of change order number 2 in the amount of $4,331.84 for electrical service associated with the CASA-4 reconstruction project. Mr.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Bryce County provided me this information earlier this week, pertains to connecting the streetlights that were installed down on County Road 4 and Idaho Street. Based off of the contract documents which are included, the service connection will be paid for via change order, and it goes through and spells out the steps that need to be complied with. So it is the cost of that work that was done plus 10%, which is in the agreement, or the contract, I should say. They provided all the information. The lights were on last night when I drove through there. Boy, what a huge improvement that is.
I was gonna say that.
It went from dark to lit up and much safer, so I'm glad that we incorporated those into the project. The work was done, the lights are on. So, staff would recommend approval of change order number 2 in the amount of $4,331 84.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Kadada,
Second.
second by Councilperson Fear. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approval to cancel the October 12, 2023 City Council meeting and reschedule the October 26, 2023 City Council meeting to Tuesday, October 24th, 2023, at 7 p.m. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Yeah, staff's been asked to check with elected and appointed officials to see about rescheduling the council meetings in October. In talking with staff, kind of seeing what agenda items would be or possibly be on the agenda for October 12th. Very similar to this meeting. The only thing that we talked about at the staff level was, depending on the timing, would be hauling and spreading of biosolids. But we always get one quote, and it's, you know, always around that 19 to 20,000, just based off of how many gallons are hauled and applied out of the sewer plant. So, you know, if we need to get in the queue for the contractor, if that's how it works out, it is a budgeted item, and if it's consistent, we would approve it. But if time allows, we'll put it on the council agenda for October 24th. But otherwise, no pressing, time-sensitive items that can't wait another week and a half till the 24th. So, as I said, I talked to all the staff that attends council meetings, works for them, works for the council members. I did speak to Councilmember Palava today. That worked for him as well. So, as long as it works for everyone, we'd recommend canceling the October 12th meeting and rescheduling the October 26th meeting for Tuesday, October 24th at 7.
Works for me.
Works for me
Works
too.
for me too, so. I move we approve the cancel the 12th and reschedule for the 24th of October.
Motion by Councilperson Fear,
Second.
second by Councilman Kadada. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That concludes the planned agenda on department reports. Excuse me, Mr. Dornfeld.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. Last week, Jordan and myself went up to Duluth for an AWWA water conference. I think the biggest thing I took away from that conference was how lucky we are to have the infrastructure that we have in Lonsdale. Just the issues that we face are far different and less than other communities around us with very old infrastructure. It was good to meet with people and get different ideas of different ways to tackle things and treatment and options with this chloride variance coming up of how other people are looking at things. Things coming up, we have tree trimming. We put an article in the paper that'll be starting on Monday. As soon as tree trimming is done, we'll be putting the article for flushing fire hydrants. I met with Shabani yesterday about the Area 3 project, and we just discussed different options, different pricing, things of that nature. I did receive some pricing from McNamara. He was grateful enough to give me a price on what just a mill and overlay with adjusting catch basins and gate valves with paving rings would cost. We have valve turning coming up. That will be kind of alongside of tree trimming. We're in full-fledged street sweeping season already. Today, the Christmas tree lights were fixed and hooked up, so
Oh, my gosh.
it went rather well. Usually it's kind of finding a needle in a haystack, and luckily we plugged it in and about 10 feet lit up, but it was rather close to the bottom, so that went pretty good. Tony Trichka hauled about half of the dirt away from the dog park site, which was very helpful. We need to just pile it up, and hopefully we can continue to find somebody else that would be interested in it. We also got the liquor store clock figured out, which that was kind of a challenge. And then I was in contact with MnDOT for the last couple weeks about the sidewalk, kind of by the old Movie Mania building, there's a handhole there where the sidewalk is all broken and crushed. It's on their agenda to replace that portion of sidewalk. And then we've been getting calls about the southwest pedestrian button on the traffic signal is not working. Finally got in touch with somebody today. He's generous enough that he's got a few of those buttons in his inventory. It is a discontinued item, so he's gonna get me some contact info for hopefully some other entities that have a few of those buttons. If they do, we'll try to gobble them up, just so we can
Right.
have those in stock, because to retrofit our system, he said it's just a nightmare with the ADA compliance. He said they make you redesign the whole thing. Well, I don't think we want to go down that road.
Right.
Just been working with Shabani on pickleball courts, and I guess that's about it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Just a couple of things to add on that area reconstruction project. As you see in the paper, it showed or identified that that project was approved. Obviously, that is incorrect, and I did reach out to the reporter, and they're actually going to have a retraction, I think, in next week's paper. I know I had some residents call me on that, and I assured them that, you know, nothing's moving forward. If it's an assessed project, they'll be notified and follow the whole guidelines. So like I said, I did reach out to them and expecting retractions. If anybody gets any calls, you know, it's
Okay.
in the works. And then just lastly, I showed you this letter I received from a resident, Keegan LaBelt, about the walking path or bike path up on Fig Avenue. Maybe you could take a peek at that when you get a chance.
Absolutely. If there's something that needs to be fixed, we'll tend to it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
One more thing I'd like to touch base on is at our last park board meeting, one of the possible pickleball court locations is at the J.C. Park, where the current hockey rink is. I asked for a motion to remove those hockey boards if that is the possible location for the pickleball courts. Whether we have pickleball there or not, it was discussed that the boards are in poor shape and should be taken down. Even if they're down, we can have a sheet of ice, which would encourage non-hockey skating. I guess, what are your guys' thoughts on removing it? We had a motion at the park board meeting, which passed. I know it's not an agenda item here, but
So the boards are bad, you just want to discard them?
Yeah.
That, and I think you were saying it's what, 2.5 hours?
Yeah.
To clear the snow every time it snows?
it would save, between the two hockey rinks, right now, you know, they're about 2.5 hours apiece, which, that's how long it takes us to plow the entire city.
Right,
So, that would speed things up quite a bit.
right. Is the pickleball court that been identified as the number one selection for location, or?
As of now, that was the top runner from what we were talking.
And I think that pickleball thing, we should move that down the path too. I think there's quite a demand for that, actually. But,
Yeah, things we talked, you know, just the amenities the J.C. Park already has in place
right,
versus other locations,
Right.
parking, lights, water, bathrooms,
right,
it's all there.
right.
One of the main things we looked at was, you know, Joe touched on it, having no boards so it doesn't promote, you know, the hockey. It's
Right.
More for
skating
pleasure.
and, yeah, just kind of tooling around.
Okay, so you want a motion or something to that effect?
I think a motion would be good if you guys could give me one.
I make a motion, we continue down the path of taking the hockey boards down at J.C. Park.
Motion
Second.
motion by Councilman Kadada, second by Councilperson Fear. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you again, sir, for all your work.
Thank you.
Mr. Erickson?
Well, thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Well, tomorrow marks 1 week of absentee voting being available. So when we get applications, we'll process them accordingly. Staff will be meeting with the auditor next week to kind of get a timeline and schedule and what needs to be done for our 22 audit in January and February. Be pretty intense the first quarter of the year with the audit and implementation of our new accounting system, utility billing, and payroll system all at the same time. So we're trying to get ahead of the game with the audit and get them as much information as we can prior to, or, you know, have a solid plan in place. So, because it's very time intensive for the training. I mean, it's a month, and, you know, a lot of them are 3/4 of a day. So, and end of January through February and into March. So, working on that. Corey and I will be attending election program training on Monday, I believe it is. Met with the police chief today on working on some ordinances for hemp edibles and tobacco, kind of the next phase of our cannabis process that we've got to go through. We attended small city grant training yesterday in North Mankato, so we'll be working with Wideseth and the Rice County HRA on getting everything squared away, and we'll have to adopt some policies, get a few documents in place, and get all that information to DEED before they'll release a signed agreement and we can start working on projects. I would say, based off of the timelines that they provided, you know, we're out till spring before our first project will begin. Unfortunately, the EDA's Smith Rev application was not approved, but we'll continue with marketing. Actually just had a conversation today with APG on video progress, and got a copy of the voiceover, so I'll be going through that and providing comments on that. That's about it since the last council meeting, so it's great having full staff on board, or more staff. I would say Corey's doing a good job and getting up to speed and asking questions and just working through things, and can actually get to the point where stuff that's been on the back burner is actually starting to get worked on. So kind of a good feeling. So
Good, good. Well, thank you for your work, sir.
thank you.
Mr. Corey?
Mr. Mayor and council members, as Joel stated in his report, we attended the 8-hour or nearly 8-hour training for the grant that the city has received from the Small Cities Development Program. Like Joel said, we're going to election training on Monday, and then I would like to let the mayor and the council members know just the excellent or the wonderful training I'm getting, especially with iWorks and the permit program, and just learning the processes here internally. So I'm very grateful to be surrounded by really good people.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
Councilman Kadada?
Nothing to report since our last meeting.
Councilperson Fuhrer?
The EDA met last week. Joel has given us pretty much the update. We had introduction of Corey as the development planner, and we're working on a third quarter lunch and learn, which will be happening sometime in October.
Great. So I don't have too much other than, I believe there's a candidate forum next, is it the 10th, or what day is that, Tuesday night, I believe? But, so good luck to both candidates, and hopefully everybody gets out and votes and see how that goes. And but that Christmas light thing, though, that kinda, I don't know, I better check their temperature in Arizona, I think. All right.
And we'll be adjourned.
Motion by Councilman Kadada.
Second.
Second by Councilperson Fuhrer. Any further discussions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.